Okay, hello and welcome to another edition of the Real Talking Podcast. What the fuck was I saying? Real Talking Podcast. Today we're going to be reviewing The Defenders. So I think we have two contrasting views on this. I thought it was and then Mason was really heaping on praise on it. So I have a few points that I thought were really cool in it too. And then Mason has a lot of points where I think he liked it as well. So I'll just let Mason start, and then just in case if there's anything to rebuttal, because I don't know what Mason has to say about it. We just briefly talked about The Defenders. But if you didn't know, The Defenders came out about 2 weeks ago. It's the amalgamation of all the Marvel characters that were in Netflix. So Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. So the four of them have come together now, and they made another show called The Defenders, which is their group name, and they're defending crime and stuff like that in New York. So that's just the preface of the storyline. There's a lot more that's going on, but I'll let Mason go ahead and give you let him give his thoughts on the show. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to start just with my expectations leading up to the show, because I think a lot of people would agree when I say that the show wasn't super hyped. All of the promotional stuff for it was super low-key. We got two trailers, one of which didn't even show any footage from the actual show, and any social media having to do with either Netflix or Marvel wasn't really talking about the Defenders. And that could be for one of two reasons. Number one, this came out pretty soon after Iron Fist. Iron Fist, I'm pretty sure, was April of this year. So I think a lot of their promotional energy was spent promoting Iron Fist. But also, Marvel had some pretty big budget movie stuff going on as well. They had to promote Guardians at the beginning of May, and then Spider-Man obviously came out in July. So I think that Defenders, unfortunately, kind of got the crap end of the stick when it came to that. But also, Iron Fist got really poor critical reception. So I think they sort of backed off from hyping up the Defenders so much, because as I'll get into in a second, Iron Fist is really key to this miniseries. He's kind of the MacGuffin of the whole show. It all sort of centers around who can influence him and what he can do for everyone. So I think that when critical reception for him was really poor, the promotional team probably just backed off and was like, well, we don't want to put him in the spotlight, etc., etc. So anyways, that's my long-winded way of saying that the hype for this show was really low-key. Everyone knew it was coming out, but I don't think anyone knew really what to expect. So based on that, I was really open-minded.
Actually, sorry, just
no worries.
So my brother's watching a lot of the Netflix things too, but he's always on Netflix, but he didn't even get a notification saying that Defenders is coming or anything. And he's actually interested in all that storyline too, so he didn't even know it was coming out. So it's only until I told him, then he knew that Defenders was coming out on the 18th. So I think that was also another thing too. Netflix wasn't really promoting it either, so it didn't get a big heavy push at all. So that's why I don't think a lot of the feedback on it is it's mixed right now. Sorry, continue though.
Yeah. So just to add to that, this show just wasn't hyped like all the other shows were. When Daredevil had both of its seasons going on, that was what Netflix was pushing. So the show didn't really get that. Just based on that, my expectations going in weren't low, but I wasn't expecting to either be blown away or totally disappointed by it. I had a really sort of moderate mindset going in. And when the show started with an action scene with everyone's favorite Iron Fist, and it was all kung fu and punches that don't look like they're landing, I was like, oh my god, fucking this again? We have to sit through this stupid kung fu shit? Seriously, they had to start with Iron Fist right after his show got slammed. Anyways, so that starts out the show, and I think, I'm really not feeling this. It's reminding me too much of the hokey stuff from Iron Fist. But then that theme starts, the one that they made for the show, where it's that big... Yeah, it's dope. It gets you really hyped for every episode. So that starts, and I'm like, oh man, okay, now that reminded me of why I was so hyped for this show, because you see all the lights of New York sort of forming into the different characters, and everyone's got their color, which was sick. And then the episodes went on, and I was really compelled by the story. I thought the characters were all done really well, even Iron Fist, I gotta say. If he continues along this path of bouncing off of other characters, I think that's the key to doing him well. I think him on his own, whether it's poor written material or just poor acting, I don't think he's enough to carry something on his own. I think he needs to really work together with other characters, and that's how he's gonna succeed.
Yeah, so
But he was great.
just to add on that last point though, like, so I know you didn't actually watch all of Iron Fist, so we had never ended up actually doing like a full review on Iron Fist, but I watched all of it, and one of the big things too was if you go back to our Dark Tower review, where then Idris Elba is playing like the whole fish out of water, he doesn't know what's going on. They did that for like 4 episodes, and even continue to do that until like the 12th episode of Iron Fist. So that went on like way too long, which was really annoying too. So that's part of the reason why he can't just be by himself, because he's like, oh, he's so new to the world again. He doesn't know how to like, what, oh, this black MasterCard, I can use this to buy whatever. It's like, come on, this is just getting stupid now. So sorry, go ahead. That's like, I agree that Iron Fist can't just be by himself. He has to have this like companionship.
And that's totally okay, because they found out the same thing in the big screen TV universe with the Incredible Hulk. They did Edward Norton's Hulk in 2008, and reception to that was pretty lukewarm. Like, I wouldn't say it's a terrible film, but it's definitely not one that you remember. And then he was in the Avengers, and everyone really liked when he got to interact with Iron Man or Thor. And now Hulk is like everyone's favorite, but it's because of how the Hulk interacts with other people. So I don't think that's a negative for Iron Fist. I just think that this show really was where he found his, like, how to do Iron Fist right was done in this show, not his single show. So, yeah, aside from that kind of first action scene where I was really not sure about how it was going to continue, I really was compelled by the story. I think all 4 of the main heroes develop what they learned in their own individual TV shows, but they also kind of learn to work together, and they get involved in each other's lives in a way that I thought was really interesting. The Hand, for the most part, was good in this show for me. There were a few things I didn't really like. Because I think, and I think we mentioned this in our Daredevil season 2 review, but nothing was really explained too much about them. They were kind of just put in the show to set them up, and then Iron Fist did a better job of explaining who they were. But this show, I think they hit their stride with the Hand as well. And even though it was still a little confusing to me, it was done way better than it was in both Daredevil and Iron Fist. And I liked the acting. For the most part, I liked the fighting. I'll get into details after you do your sort of overall feelings, but I would say even though that this show wasn't perfect, I think it's about as good as it could have been. So that's sort of where I'm standing with it right now. What about you? What did you think?
Yeah, so I think I came in with like expectations that are just too high. So I was expecting it to be like a really good show, especially because Daredevil 2 season 2 happened, and that's like definitely my favorite season of like any of the Marvel shows. And then Iron Fist was really low, so I was really unhappy with that. So I was like, okay, they can only go up from here. So I felt like they did go up, but not to the degree that I wanted them to. So I wrote down like a bunch of stuff on like multiple pages and everything. So
Sure.
So there's a few things. So first, like you said, like the intro was amazing. It's sort of it's like the same sort of intro, but the music was sick. They have like the outline figures, and they're showing the city and everything. So I really like that. Oh yeah, there's like I wrote down the like everything as I was going along. So the first thing would be the makeup. I did not like the makeup in this at all. Like there's some points where the makeup is good, but then other points where it's just terrible. So like
On who?
like for example, so the first fight scene in the entire show where Iron Fist gets slashed across the chest, it actually looked like strawberry jelly was on his chest. Like when he had his shirt off and it's just like the dragon on his chest, I was like, what the fuck is that? Is that a ketchup stain? That was like, come on, you could have done so much better than that. So also, in the conference room when they're fighting, that's like when they all meet together for like the first time. They're doing that team fight through the hallway and everything. I swear I saw a boom mic. Like it was just hanging down just for a split second, and then it went out. I was like, God, you gotta edit that out. But that's like another sort of thing. And
there was another one. I don't, if you didn't notice it, but you know when that earthquake happens at the end of like episode 1 or whatever, it shows Luke Cage like running around in the street trying to defend these people, and a streetlight falls over, and he goes to like catch it, but I swear you can see the wires kind of like dangling from the streetlight, and it's like that didn't look convincing at all.
Yeah, there's points of those in the show where it's just like, okay, this is like, come on, you could have done a much better job. And the biggest thing that annoyed me the most, which I actually took a photo of because it pissed me off, is actually this. And I sent it to Mason. So you can see right here, Stick's hand. So Stick has his left hand is still available, but his right hand has been cut off because he had to cut it off to get out of like their capture. So you can see his stub is actually longer than the total length of his other hand, which is like just it's like you're so obviously holding a stub. You couldn't design like something to like just close the fist basically and just hold it, and then this would be the stub. So that kind of annoyed me. Also, yes, the hand. So the hand had all these middle-aged people, except for Madame Gao. Madame Gao is the only one who's an old fuck. And then everyone else, though, is just like a middle-aged... Like, Sigourney Weaver is obviously like an older woman now. Like, what is she, in her 50s? Late 50s? Right? 57 or something like that? So, but then... But
she doesn't look it, though.
I know, she looks middle-aged. Like, the Japanese guy. That guy was sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's middle-aged. And then, like... what's her name? Her master? That was, like, the head of the hand? Like, Bodo? Or Buta? Or something like that? Whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was also middle-aged. So they're all middle-aged, except for this one woman. And then Madame Gao is also the only woman that has, like, the Force or something. I don't understand her powers. They never explain that either for Madame Gao, where she just does this, and then she just sends people flying back. It's like, how come no one else can do that? How come so she can do this? Like, she can channel her chi to do that, but she's not the Iron Fist? Like, I don't understand that premise either. So that's like another thing where they're not defining.
Like, that was the most confusing thing for me about the hand, because I mean, I get that they're like this secret organization that's been around for thousands of years. Like, that was all very clear to me.
Yeah, they're pulling the strings. They're like the Court of Owls, basically.
Yeah.
Of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I didn't really understand, though, if they were like a supernatural society or if they were just a really ancient society, because some of them have powers, but most of them just don't age. Like, I understand the whole immortal life thing, but I don't understand, like you said, like, one of them can, like, use the Force, essentially, but then, like, Sigourney Weaver didn't seem to have any magical powers. One of them was a ninja, I think. Like, I didn't understand if there was a supernatural component.
Exactly. Okay. And then also, I know I wrote this point down, but now I don't know what I'm referencing. But I just wrote, world history doesn't let the hand actually work. So I think that there was, like, some point where, that the history was mentioned, and then, like, world history actually doesn't coincide with this, so that's just, like, another small point.
Oh, is that when they were talking about how, like, it was that scene in the, not the conference room, but in the hands sort of hideout, when they were like, we have destroyed several ancient cities throughout history, and then they mentioned Pompeii and Chernobyl like or whatever, and you're yeah.
There's something like that where it's like, it doesn't even fit world history that I don't remember exactly what it is. And then also, they built up Black Sky so much. Like, they mentioned that in the first Daredevil season. Like, okay, this is the thing to end all wars. And then it's like, she's not even that great of a weapon. So it's like, you built up something so great, but then it's like, whatever. Could be, like, I was, like, a little annoyed with that.
And that's why in Daredevil Season 2, I needed more on the Black Sky, because in that show as well, Elektra was built up to be, like, the person who was going to be what I thought was a conduit for some really great weapon. But then in this show, it was just Elektra with crazy super strength. Like, I didn't understand how that was the weapon that was going to give the hand the tipping point over everyone else.
Yeah,
like
that's exactly what I thought. Like, where she just go around and just kill everything and stop everybody. It didn't happen. And then I also didn't understand. So in the beginning of the show too, Iron Fist, they go back to Kang Lang, and they see that everyone's dead there now, right? Yeah. So that means the hand obviously could get into Kang Lang. But so why can't they go back there now to the Fountain of Youth, and then they have all the, like, they can live forever again? I don't understand that either. Because if they could get in there to kill everybody, can't they get in there to just go to the Fountain of Youth and just live forever? But they just left it and didn't take any of the liquid from there to, like, be rejuvenated if they die. So I didn't understand that.
Think about that.
Right? Because it's like, there's, like, all these things. There's another, like, I'll just go through the things that I liked as well. that there are stability problems in the hand. So it shows that they're still humans. They're
Yep.
still bad guys. There's instability. So there's like problems with the leader. Oh, we don't like the leader, and then there's like killing each other. There's like political battles going on between them. Who's controlling what and whose plan to follow. So I like that part. I like the introduction, like I said, of the Japanese guy. That guy, whenever it's like you're supposed to be a badass, like they did this with Tywin Lannister too, right? Where he's like cutting open some animal
Yeah.
that's like, he's like, come on, that's like completely taken from Game of Thrones. But it's like, it is like the most badass thing, right? You kill something and then you're like shaving off its fur and everything. I like the
Yeah.
origin story too for the defenders. Like it felt like they just naturally came together. Like there is fate in this universe. Like they're drawn together and they eventually end up all together because they have these powers. So I like that origin story because they didn't have to like forcefully write to for like them to like meet up. It looks like it's
Yeah.
all natural. They all have like characters that know each other. Like Luke Cage knows Night Nurse, and then she knows these other people, and then like the lawyers know each other. So it's like perfectly flowed with that. It's not like Spider-Man, which I just had so many problems with. What was the other thing? I can't even read my own handwriting.
Well, the thing that was really good about them all coming together was that they were all coming from different places of motivation. So, like, Luke Cage, for example, that entire show that he had to himself was about, he can't bear the weight of being a crime fighter just on his own. Like, he needs to reach out to people and he needs to start relying on other people if he doesn't want to put himself or the people that he cares about in harm's way. Whereas Daredevil, for example, trusted too many people that ended up screwing him over in a way. Like, he trusted Elektra, he trusted Stick. So when they all come together, Luke Cage and Iron Fist are the ones that are kind of like, no, we should try this out. We should try being a team. And Daredevil and Jessica Jones want to pull back. They've trusted too many people. So even though they came together really well and it felt very fluid, it wasn't like a let's meet up and punch stuff fast. Like, it was there was some friction there, and it worked based on the characters, but friction doesn't mean that it wasn't fluid. So that, I think, was done really effectively.
Okay, so I had a few more points, but I'm just gonna leave them just because they're really nitpicky. Like just torture scene stuff, like all that stuff is fine for me. But overall, I'd give this like a 7 or a 6 out of 10, something like that. Like some of the fighting scenes were okay. I thought they could have been done better, just because like when you set the bar so high with Daredevil, you would expect to have like something really good, but then it's like all the shots were like taken from really far away, so you can see the characters are waiting for their cues, and then like, okay, now it's my turn to go through the blocking of this scene, and then it's like, oh come on, it's like you're just waiting there. It's like watching a dance performance and the people are just standing on the side of the stage waiting. It's like, okay, my turn now. So that was a little annoying. But other than that, because that's why you shouldn't have the shot so far out. If you have the shot that far out, then you can see all that. If it's like up close and you're watching someone get their face pounded in, like when he punched Luke Cage, Iron Fist punched Luke Cage, that was hilarious. Because he like punched him right in the jaw and it's like, boom, it's like, damn, that hurt. Yeah. So like that's not that close, but like not so far away either. You have to find like the perfect thing. And they should have done like one sick ass scene too. Like at the end, I guess it's sort of like it, but like just one fluid shot where it's like one take and you're just they're panning around showing everybody getting their butt kicked, but it was like not the same as like the stairwell scene going down, because the stairwell scene was sick, or the hallway scene. There's like nothing like that. So I wish they could have done a better job on the fight choreography.
Yeah, that's my biggest critique of the show, is that both the production and the fight choreography is really inconsistent, but also so is the tone and the drama. Like, to address that final fight that you're talking about, I'm assuming you're talking about the one where they're like underground and they're near the dragon and stuff. So like all of them have different fighting styles, which is fine, but when someone whips out a gun, for example, they all have to run and hide behind Luke Cage. Like, it really kind of it influenced the fighting in a way where like you couldn't believe that some of them were holding their own in this fight. Like, Daredevil and Iron Fist know kung fu, Luke Cage is bulletproof, and then Jessica Jones just kind of throws like sloppy punches, right? Which was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was fine because like not everyone needs to be a martial arts master, not everyone needs to be bulletproof, But when you have them all together like that and they're all fighting a common enemy, which is literally ninjas at this point, like I couldn't believe that some of them were holding their own in this fight. And
Especially
another
'cause, like,
really
they've been injured before, so it's like, come on, there's this many, and you're not getting touched. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Well, and that also just leads into the inconsistency in the drama, right? Like, I buy that all of these people have like people that they care about. Like, there's literally one episode in this season devoted to rounding up all the side characters from everyone's universe and literally shoving them in a room and being like, "Don't leave because the bad guys are going to come and they're going to kill you." And I thought that was really smart. But the drama for that episode was based on who do I care about that's going to get hurt. Then the drama switches over to the world's going to end or New York is going to blow up. Like, the stakes shifted in terms of scope and like dramatic levels so often where it's like, I don't even understand why some of you have a stake in this fight. Like, really, what does Iron Fist have to lose if New York crumbles, right? Like, he's still got Kunlun, he's still got every other city that he's lived in. So it was just inconsistent. I think that's my biggest complaint about the show. But overall, it wasn't enough for me to, be disappointed by it. So I'm going to go a little bit higher, and I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Yes, Tessa? Okay. So I gotta go now. So Thanks for watching. I hope you like that. I don't know when the next thing will be. Maybe Ragnarok. I don't know. I didn't want to just shit on this whole show because it wasn't as bad as Spider-Man to me. Just Spider-Man was so bad that I had to do that like shit fest on it. But I hope you liked it, and thanks for watching.